What are you in school for? Is it software engineering? You get PhD in compiler. In compilers, I took a compiler course, and then my first computer-related job was static analysis, transpiling from COBOL to Java. So I had to learn COBOL. So compilers have are near and dear in my heart, a sweet spot in my heart. I don't know what the term is, but hopefully I'm gesturing at the concept so that you know what I'm talking about. Teaching a compiler course next semester, nice. What source language and what target are you gonna do? Like simplified Java to JVM bytecode, or like simplified C to machine or assembly, or what? What are you gonna do? C to RISC V assembly, nice. I have a story for you, Doxy. So in that compiler course that I took, they had a little competition, Peephole Optimizer, if you're familiar with it. The idea is the front end is already written, like it parses Java into bytecode, and then so now the competition is everybody gets bytecode, and then you have to emit or transform it into equivalent bytecode, right? Like something that does the same thing, but fewer instructions. And basically the size of the output. So whoever has the smallest output in terms of bytes wins. And so everybody in the class was submitting all their different optimizations, right? And then my team won. We won first place. It was us, first place. Second place was some other team at some other student, and then third place was the official Sun compiler. So to give you an idea of scale of how good the optimizations were. But the thing is, our submission, my team submission, was so good that they had to change the rules for next year. What we did, that they were like, oh yeah, there's no rule against it this year, so we're gonna let it slide, but next year you can't do this, is our compiler understood or made assumptions, I should say, I guess, about the semantics of standard library functions. So if you call the standard library function, and when you have to do a different thing that would do the equivalent thing of that library function, we would just do the other thing instead. So meaning, like, we would not call the library function, right? And then they're like, yeah, I don't know if that's legal, right? Like, because on the one hand, like, yes, our program demonstrably has exactly the same semantics as the original, but like, is the compiler really allowed to assume semantics of the standard library, which in theory could change, like, without the language spec changing? So that's why they were like iffy about it. But so they let us do it this year, but then it's the next year, new entries are not allowed to do that anymore. Doxy says those functions usually cover some extra edge cases too. Yes, so exactly. So here's the thing. I have the full source code, right, under analysis when I'm doing the optimization. So I can see, like, are you going to hit the edge case or not? And if I see you're not, then I don't have to take care of that edge case. Their concern was basically like, in theory, you could change the semantics of the standard library, right? Like, without changing the semantics of the language itself. And so that's why it's like, is this outside of the purview of compilers? Is a compiler really allowed to assume that a certain standard library call will have a certain semantic? Or should the compiler be agnostic to that and just say, like, all I know is language spec, I don't know anything about the standard library, and I will just translate? Shouldn't your full source code be able to tell? I don't know what you mean by that. The thing is, the source code is static, right? Like, they write the source code, now we optimize it, and we see, like, are you ever going to hit this edge case? If not, then we don't need to handle the edge case. Is this hard-coded edge case? Yeah, it was hard-coded, basically. We said, like, like, if you, I can't remember what the library is now, so it's tough for me to give a concrete example, but I said, like, like, if your input is equal to 3, if x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 7, and you're calling this method, then I can just say, hard code load constant 10. I don't even have to call the method. What you said, it makes it sound like we scan the function. No, yeah, so I don't scan the standard library code. What I do is I see the name of the function you're calling. If your input satisfies certain conditions, then I quote-unquote know what's going to happen, and then so I don't call the function, and I just load the result instead. Sorry for everybody else in chat, we're geeking out too much. We're doing very talking shop, is that what it's called?